All right, so now we're here to talk about the marital settlement agreement, or as many people refer to the MSA. Saying marital settlement agreement 100 times is very difficult to not stutter or trip over yourself, so I'm going to refer to it as the MSA. So in this document, it's very, very important that we really take the time to walk through the entire document. These are highly personalized, very specific. These are contracts that handle your relationship with your spouse moving forward after the divorce. How's property divided? What are you doing with the children if there are children involved? Who has custody? What's parenting time? Where do holiday schedules look like? If children are not involved, well, how's the house handled? Are you guys selling the home? Are you refinancing? What are you doing? Are you cash out refinance? All of these very, very specific details need to be addressed in this contract. And again, this is what the judge will review moving forward in your relationship. So if you do make a mistake in one of the previous documents, that can be corrected easily prior to the decree. The settlement agreement is really, the MSA is really just a contract between the two of you. So it's very important to be on the same page, that it says everything that you want it to say. So before I go into some of the more specifics, I think it's important to realize there's a few things that you cannot delete in this document. So Kentucky is a dower and curtsy state. Without getting too bogged down in the weeds of those terms, what it really means and how it relates to you is in this agreement, there's a husband and a wife's waiver. If it's a same-sex marriage, you can just simply put the spousal waiver. It will have the same effect. And so in these waivers, what we're saying is that any estate type of paperwork that you have moving forward is waived. So any interest that you might have, again, Kentucky is a dower and curtsy state. This is that right, those rights that you're waiving. So with that being said, the next thing that you just cannot delete is really numbers 21 down. That's talking about who's governing jurisdiction, which is Kentucky. You have the right to disclosures. If it looks like the legal term is called boilerplate, you might be familiar with it. If it looks like it's boilerplate language, then you want to leave that in there. So if it says anything about this, the parties coming together to sign a contract, to deal with their relationship moving forward, well, that's a boilerplate language. Leave it there. Don't delete it. If it says anything like the parties have 2 boats and you don't have any boats, well, you can delete that. Same with anything that doesn't apply. If you don't have children, delete the provisions regarding custody and time sharing or parenting time, anything involving child support and health insurance for the children. All of that can be deleted if you don't have children. And so if you do, those need to be addressed in your agreement moving forward, or at least reference what you're doing with it as you continue on. So the last thing I'll say is, if you need to add something into the document, and I think the boat example is a really good example. So if you go in and you say, look, he has vehicles in here, but he doesn't have anything regarding boats, and we have 2 boats, we'll use the language that's in there to help guide you with adding anything. So if you have investment properties and you also have a marital home, use the marital home as a guide for how you're going to divide your investment properties. If someone's going to take it, if you're going to refinance, use those as guides. If you have to draft something from scratch, I recommend having someone review it. Only because, again, you're drafting a contract that's going to govern your relationship moving forward. Hopefully, that doesn't apply to you, but if it does, take the necessary steps to make sure that you're covered and you're actually saying what you want to say. The judge will review these to make sure that they're not unconscionable, which is really a term that just means unfair, right? Or illegal, if you want to think of it that way. So in these agreements, remember, they're highly personalized. There is no perfect template for everyone to use. Some people have some assets that others don't. Some have children and others don't. So you just have to spend the time to go through each page, each provision, and make sure that it actually makes sense to you. Also, one of the most common mistakes that I see in this is that in the very first page at the top, it references the specific county that this was drafted in. So in this particular document, it's Jefferson County. So you will have to change it to apply to your county. Obviously, if you're in Spencer County or Shelby County, you're going to change that to make sense. And all of this is pre-marked for you to help guide you along in completing this document. But again, you need to make sure that you spend the time to review and make sense of everything that's said. Otherwise, you very well could be agreeing to something that just doesn't apply or make sense for your situation. Again, if there's something that is not included in the settlement agreement, the MSA, and you wish that it was, then I would suggest, again, having an attorney review it or at least add the provision for you, because you're going to want to make sure that it's divided in a manner that is appropriate for you. And with that being said, our next video is going to be the final video on filing everything to finalize your divorce and close out the entire dissolution of marriage process or divorce process. So I'll look forward to seeing you in that last video.